I remember going hunting with my dad. We're walking along. I think I was 8, complaining consistently and constantly. I'm sure my dad regretted bringing me hunting immediately after leaving the car, potentially on the car ride to where we were hunting. And an elk walked out in front of us. He shouldered his rifle and shot directly over the top of it. And we had this conversation, we laugh about it today, because we would still be packing that thing out right now. We were so far into the backcountry with nobody to help us, driving a Volkswagen Vanagon. It was the worst case scenario possible, but that was my first exposure that I can remember, is just walking along with my dad. Although I have that memory, it was not something where I had it stuck in the back of my head, like, oh, I have to repeat this at some point. My career is probably best described in reverse. Spent the vast majority of my adult life in the Navy. The entire time was in the SEAL community. So 1 month shy of 17 years, 2x the amount of time post 9/11 than I did pre. So mostly combat and wartime experience, a split between Afghanistan and Iraq. And I joined when I was young. I joined when there was no idea of 9/11, and the thought of being a SEAL was like this huge concept. A lot of people would describe it as a calling, but it hooked me at 11, and then it became my single focus in life to go down that career path. It is the single most incredible environment that I've ever been a part of, and it's how organizations, specifically the SEAL community, are able to do things that often make people scratch their head. And then the other side of that double-edged sword is when you leave that community, it's almost impossible to replicate. And I say it's almost impossible to replicate. I have not been able to yet, but I'm not a fan of absolutes, so I avoid terms like always and never. But I don't know if I'll ever be able to find a group of people that can match that level of focus and purpose. And it's hard to describe what it feels like to be surrounded by peers who feel exactly the same way as you do. When I first got out of the military, I was like, you know what? No, we're gonna do a nice piping hot latte in the morning with a robe, slippers, maybe an ascot, perhaps an ivory-handled pipe, and a monocle as I read the newspaper. Like, I'm gonna do what I wanna do on my terms. Oh, by a roaring fire, by the way. I'm late to the game when it comes to hunting. I had no interest in it when I was serving. I was introduced to Joe Rogan, I think about 5 years ago, who consistently and constantly on his podcast talks about hunting, specifically archer hunting. And I finally hit him up one day and I said, hey, you seem to not have the ability to shut up about this topic. Is it as awesome as you say it is? And he texted me John Dudley's contact information. So I get a hold of John, who is a world-class archer, in addition to being a world-class bow hunter. And he invited me to his house. We're sitting in the backyard and talking just archery, not necessarily hunting, but archery. And we're shooting at these 3D foam animals. He's like, yeah, man, the next step is if you want to, we should go hunting. I was like, okay, I'll go. And had a crash course in archery hunting. It really lit or reinvigorated a passion of being in the outdoors. Seen quite a few people who have never taken a life of any kind. An animal walks out for the first time on a rifle, and they can see it in the scope of their rifle, and they start to hold their breath. And the same thing, I'll watch the end of the barrel. Are they holding it steady, or does it start to shake a little bit? That moment was easy for me because of the experience that I had had up until that time period as well. So I had performed well in that moment, and I'm comfortable there. And then all of the skills that I had learned over 17 years, you combine that, and it created a package that it was easy to add back into my routine. At that same time period, I was looking at a way to detach myself from what I'm going to call traditional or factory farming when it comes to meat products. And it's interesting when you start to look into the process and the toll it takes on the environment and the animals to actually get food on our plate in the grocery stores. every time you open the freezer and you pull something out of that, I think it's impossible to not remember where that particular item came from. You're sitting there and you're telling this whole tale and experience of what led to that meal. It's just such a, for me, it is a deeper and more meaningful engagement in that environment. And I tell you what, you waste a lot less too. For me, that's where the real appreciation comes in. The hunt for me is not about the chase. It's about the after. As long as you put in the time, energy, and effort after the shot is taken and pay the animal the respect that it is due and do the things that you need to, it can be something that sustains you and your family for a year to come. Much like I was resistant to the idea of hunting due to the physical nature of just the discomfort, and then I found bow hunting. I was like, oh, this is kind of awesome. I was also extremely resistant to rifle hunting. And people are like, well, why would you be resistant to rifle hunting? And my honest answer is, I don't feel like it's fair to the animal. You know, my shortest shot on my last deployment to Afghanistan was 770 yards. My longest shot that deployment was 1,821 yards. So my scale of distance and where I'm comfortable shooting is a little bit skewed in comparison to most people. So that was the headspace that I went into it with. And I was gonna bow hunt this year, and then I actually hurt myself. So I was unable to shoot my bow. So I was forced to confront, why do I hunt? Do I really hunt to detach myself from the factory farming perspective, the traditional sourcing of meat? Or do I just like the challenge of bow hunting, and do I just like killing stuff? And the reality is, I do enjoy hunting. I do enjoy killing the animals, but there's nothing I like more than sharing the harvest with friends and family and loved ones. So what did that mean? I was unable to shoot my bow. I don't think I can throw a rock very far, nor would it be deadly to any of the animals that I wanted to kill. So rifle hunting came into the picture, and that starts with selecting your tool. What interested me most about the Christensen products, specifically the MPR, is reliability, durability, weight, and those three things are what I'm looking for when it comes to a purpose-driven tool to take into the backcountry. Hunting is largely seasonal based. I mean, if you have the means, you can travel and probably hunt every month of the year if you wanted to go overseas or go to Alaska and stuff like that. But for here in Montana, I got bow hunting in September, October, and then if you need to, you can push it into rifle, but it ends in November. But you need to start prepping for that the day after the previous hunting season ends. You don't break the rifle out a week before you go hunting and make sure that it's still sighted in. You train with the rifle, and that means, for me, everything from selecting the backpack that I'm going to carry, loading everything in that backpack that I'm going to carry with the rifle. You test everything before you get into the field, and that's how you have success in the field. So it's all based around preparation. And the hunt, when it comes to a rifle, is going to be your go, no-go criteria. So when I pack for the trip, I lay everything out, put it in that waterproof bag, and that way I know that if I have that waterproof bag with me, I have everything that I need. I like the fact that the odds are stacked against you. You're generally going after animals that at a DNA instinctual level are designed to want to stay alive in environments where there are predators. When I seek things that are challenging, or when I seek things that scare me or make me uncomfortable, I grow as a person. I think most people are surrounded by excess and luxury and a lack of challenge, and it leads to a different type of person. The primary aspect is the harvest and what it allows me to do. That allows me to expose it to friends, family, and loved ones, spend less money per year on meat, to have the highest quality sourced meat available that I can get, that I know where it came from, that I went and got it myself, that I had to invest such an incredible amount of time, energy, and effort into making that happen. And then it also allows me to detach, and this is a personal moral choice, from traditional factory farming here in the United States.
I run, I feel not the brush on my skin, only the cry of my kin, the creak of the slowly rising tree. I hear my father's cry, I have no answer for him, only in the forest dim do I know my place on the earth. I have asked for this